balance is very, very challenging. I don't really have an end to where my creativity or my job. As a creative, I don't think I have an end to where my life starts and my job starts. And maybe that some might see that as unhealthy, that there's not a real division.
This is the Snarketing Podcast, for marketers, by marketers, talking to marketers with just a touch of snark. Now, here are your hosts, Valerie Vespa and Matt Worst.
Hello again, and welcome to the Snarketing Podcast. I'm your male co-host, Matt Worst.
And I am Valerie Vespa.
And this is an interesting intro as we set up this episode because Valerie is in California. I am here in New York, but just back from a week plus long vacation in the Caribbean with my family. And I feel rested, I feel relaxed, but I am also really looking forward to this conversation with Jaime today because she is an emerging superstar. And she's not even emerging. She is already a superstar in our industry. But she's got so much to share, so much to offer. This is a conversation that will make you laugh. It will make you cry. It may make you question some things. And I think that's a good thing, right?
That's a great question.
Now, you and I could talk about a few different topical items that have come up since we last were together. One of which is the U.S. Congress and President signing the TikTok ban, or more likely the force to sell. We could talk about your trip to Possible, which I know you loved. We could talk about my vacation, which I loved, but would really be boring for most people. Or, you know what we could do? We could just get right to our guest. Jaime Robinson is the co-founder and chief creative officer of JOAN, an agency that is about 8 to 10 years old. But before that, she cut her teeth at some of the all-time legendary agencies, Wieden & Kennedy, Pereira Odell. She's on the board of directors at the One Club. I mean, she is incredible. And I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation.
We are beyond delighted to have this guest join the Snarketing Podcast. She's a creative force of nature who learned and trained with some of the best to ever do it, and now she has built her own shop and quickly becoming one of the best to ever do it herself. Let's meet the fun, fierce, and fantastic Jaime Robinson.
Such a pleasure to have you on Snarketing with us. Thank you for joining.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you guys. I'm so much looking forward to this conversation today.
And leaning into your creativity, I see that you have this mug that is just very amazing in terms of your handle.
I like a big handle. It is from a ceramicist named Workaday Handmade. I'm going to plug for his company. Maybe I'll get a kickback. But it's amazing. The handle, for those of you guys who can't see it, you can actually literally fit your entire hand inside the handle. But it's great.
I love a big handle. Oh,
yeah, it's a big handle.
It's so good. It's bright yellow.
I'm gonna stay quiet while you guys talk about handles and size, and then we'll just let the snark.
This is not starting off very well.
I think it's starting off just perfect.
Can we get a handle on things, Valerie? Can you rein it back in?
Well, okay, sorry. So yeah, I was doing a little bit of reading on you, and Fast Company named you one of the 100 most creative people in business. So what an accolade. So let's start out with something easy. What is your secret to creativity? Is it copious amounts of coffee in a very cool mug? Or do you have a creativity boosting ritual that works for you?
It's so funny that you should say that, because actually for so long I've said that coffee is like my superpower. I can drink more coffee than I think any human being, and I will go toe to toe. Like, you know, in the movies, in scenes of movies where they do shots, and like in Indiana Jones and Marion's doing shots, and the big guys doing shots. That's like me and coffee, but you know, it's a little less glamorous than big bits of tequila. But there you go. Yeah, but I love it, and I You can also maybe know, you may have noticed, not only do I have the mug with the big handle, which is full of some hot water, I also always have a Diet Coke with me. and I almost always have a sparkly beverage with me, and I switch between them. It's kind of like a bizarre. I honestly I don't have a reason for it. I just started doing it a couple of years ago, and everybody laughs because at work I just have like this cup farm of. Anyway, there you go.
I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't expect the secret to your creativity to be 3 different types of liquids, but whatever fuels you, I would say keep doing it. As I told you before we started recording, I've been a big fan of yours, and I often get, as a former and maybe someday future agency executive, I get a little bit of not anxiety around very established creatives, but with your CV, my admiration goes out the door, right? It's crazy levels. But you grew up working at some of the most iconic, incredible agencies on the planet. I'm sure those experiences empower and enable you to this day. But are there any like standout conversations with either Pereira or Odell or Wyden or Kennedy or any of them that helped like spark a big idea, or that you carry with you now as motivation is in addition to one of those 3 beverages?
I've been so lucky to be working with some incredible people from, I started actually in an agency called Mad Dogs and Englishmen a million years ago, working, and it was kind of like this, I was up for 2, I'll tell you, I was up for 2 internships. One was at Mad Dogs and another one was at an agency that was, their big client was French's Mustard. Right. So it was like
I love French's Mustard. I also worked on French's Mustard on the agency side. Yeah.
Where?
At 360i.
Okay. So this is way before that.
So, okay.
Millions of years.
You put French's on the map. We just squeezed a little bit what was left at the bottom of the.
Squeeze the mustard. You got to do that. But I was going to go to this place that was kind of more of a, shoulder patty and business suit kind of an agency. And I had found my way into Mad Dogs and offered an internship. And I remember talking to the person at that recruiter there at the shoulder patty kind of agency. And she said, yeah, Mad Dogs is okay. It's kind of like going to tour with the Rolling Stones. But if you want to have like a real job, we can come here. And I was like, actually, I'm 21. Like going on tour with the Rolling Stones kind of sounds pretty good. So I was lucky enough to get offered this internship. And there I met the most creative and wonderful people who set me down this path of just looking at what we had in front of us and the opportunity we had in front of us, which was a blank sheet of paper and somebody spending millions of dollars on it, and thinking, what can I do to communicate with all these people that are going to be on the other side of it? How can I make the world more interesting or funny or cool or better or less cringy, than some of the other advertisements.
With mustard.
Well, we didn't have mustard at the time. I believe we had a movie phone and The Economist, so we got to make really smart stuff. And Yoo-Hoo chocolate drink was actually one of my first things that I ever worked on.
Those could not be any more different 3 brands. I mean, unless you're calling movie phone guy asking for beverage advice, but.
Which you could. I mean, he's very knowledgeable. And so I was really lucky to go work with those guys. And it was the creative founder was a guy named Nick Cohen, and there was a strategic lead named Robin Hayfitz. And then I had my creative directors Dave Cook and Michael Reich, and these guys were really kind of, I mean, it was like trial by fire. We would go in every day, and you would sweat all night coming up with 20 concepts, and literally one by one my creative director would just be like, not funny, and just chuck it on the floor. And you started to learn that way. I mean, if I think about the generosity of time that they gave to us, that every day we would get this training, through humiliation, through not cracking the brief, but it was a real gift. And I'll always be grateful to those guys because they grew so many incredible people. It was a time to be there.
Do you ever think like, what if you had chosen plan B or path B and you were like working girl, if you were like Melanie Griffith with your shoulder pads walking into some downtown Madison Avenue, like.
Yeah, I do. I like to think that I would have pulled my way around, but actually I don't know. And it's advice that I always give to young people when they enter the field. I'm like, hey, listen, find the place that most speaks to you and it's going to be tempting for you to say, I need to like, if you can, sometimes you're like, I got to pay back my college bills or whatever, to go for the place that's a big place that's going to put you out down in the basement making work that you're not interested in. But if you can afford it, if you can squeeze it, if you can work another job on the side, which I did during my internship, then it's worth finding a place that speaks to you and will push you out of your comfort zone. And I don't know. It's a tricky thing, and I don't know what I would give that advice to my own children, to my own daughters, but it's hard, I think, for lots of people.
It's interesting. I just watched like a masterclass during my Delta flight that was longer than I wanted it to be, on Amy Poehler, and she was talking about the art of like improv and using that in real life to like exude confidence and, be a leader and all of this stuff. So it sounds like the sort of practice that you got in your early days was sort of like improv, in terms of like kind of get humiliated, fail fast, don't hold on to these things, like keep moving forward. I don't know, like if you agree with that methodology.
Oh, I actually do. And it's interesting because yes, and is like something that we incorporated, especially in early days at JOAN. And I think like, I firmly believe that ideas get bigger the more oxygen you put on into them. And okay, yes, 99% of ideas that a creative will say, including myself, is garbage. It's stinky. It's not going to go anywhere. It's wrong or whatever. And it's not. However, maybe 99% is an exaggeration. Maybe it's like 90. But if 10% of them have potential, and they're not given oxygen, and they're not given the potential for them to just kick around on this earth a little bit, then you may have lost them. And then at the end of that, probably 1% is genius. But 9% should have a chance to like toddle about a little bit before they fall over and burst into flames. And I think improv is a place where people encourage that. Let it toddle around a little bit. Let it explore a little bit before it dies.
So you talk a lot about the power of why not. Can you share a little bit about that approach and how that perhaps has led you to breakthrough in some of your work?
I don't know how it happened to me, but from a young age, I was given a gift where I kind of was encouraged by people around me to just go for things and always would take things whether or not and do things whether or not they were they were on the rules. One weird thing that I had many causes and things and clubs that I believed in high school, and somehow I ended up having like making daily announcements over the loudspeaker. I just kind of went and said, I'd like to make an announcement one day. And they let me. And then the next day I showed up and said, I'd like to make another announcement and talk about the drama club. And they let me. And the next day I was like, I'd like to come make another announcement about the animal rights club. And they let me. And then suddenly people started coming up to me being like, hey, can you put in a plug for the basketball team? And hey, can you do this? So I just started to do that. And there was nobody that said I could do it. And there's nobody that said that I should do it. I just started to do it. And I then had like a 5-minute forum every morning in high school. And I think that people are so afraid of what are the rules or being told no that they never ask. And often you can just ask and do it. And surprisingly, people will let you. And I just think that's where that why not comes in. You will never know unless you just go for it. You just try it. You don't need to wait for permission. If you wait for someone to say, hey, would you like to do this? They're not gonna most times. So you just got to go try it. And that's my philosophy.
I love the idea of forgiveness over permission. It's something that I've kind of lived by until at some point, maybe I do get burned. But I think that also speaks to the fearlessness with which you've created something that is now standing above or alongside some of even your heroes, maybe from an agency perspective. Every superhero has an origin story. What is the story behind the founding of JOAN? And how'd you decide on the name? I have a theory, but I haven't researched it, so I want to hear.
Well, my nickname is Jaime Robinson, by the way, or my handles.
Panic Robinson or Manic?
No, bionic.
Oh, bionic, or neither of the above. Okay, my hearing is certainly not bionic.
No, and the reason why is because actually my parents named me. This is kind of embarrassing. After the bionic woman, Jamie Summers. So they were looking in the TV guide. That's why my name is spelled Jaime, because it's with the TV guide spelled. So we're talking like 1976. My parents were looking for a name. And they're like, let's open the TV guide. Let's see what's up. I guess like I could have been named like whatever Tony Danza's character was in Taxi or whatever, but instead I got this name, which is good. So Joan's founding, it goes back a long time, truly, to like even when I was little, I was thinking I kind of was in love with advertising and was lucky enough to get be exposed to a lot of creative exercises, like in the gifted and talented programs and things like that, where somehow they'd ask you to write an ad. And for some reason, I just love the storytelling that could happen in short forms on behalf of brands. And anyway, so I got into it and working for the founders, Nick Cohen and of Mad Dogs. And then I went to Chiat in San Francisco, which was run by Chuck McBride. And obviously Chiat is not founded by Chuck McBride, but Chuck sort of ran it as his own weird independent thing. And then actually eventually opened up Cutwater. And then I went to go work for a founders at Evolution Bureau, which was Daniel Stein and Jason Zada. And then I went for work for founders at Pereira and Odell. And then I was there for about 8 years, and I worked for founders Dan Wyden, right? And I think I've always been around founders from when I was very young, very lucky, and to be there. And I just really loved the way that seeing how each of them did it differently, how each of them created a culture that was absolutely committed to creative excellence, 100%, but had a different flavor and encouraged different things and different cultures. And so I really love to see that. And especially getting the front row seat that I got at Pereira and Odell from watching it from almost nothing, very small company, to growing to over, 150 people and having multiple locations in different countries. I just thought it was super, super exciting, and really wanted to see what would happen if I did it and grabbed a bunch of people who felt similarly to the way that I did about creativity. And also, it was 2015 when I made the decision to finally do it. Literally started to do it and met Lisa and started to really launch it towards the beginning of 2016. And I just also was looking around saying, hey, it's not a whole lot of agencies founded by women. And we were about to have our first female president. You know how that turned out, but we did have that. And just thinking, what would it be to open up a space where, I don't know, we just had all different kinds of people from all different kinds of backgrounds telling the stories that matter to them. And so that's the origin of JOAN. And I think the other thing is thinking about, there was like a lot, especially at that time, of consternation between what's a traditional agency and a digital agency. And Lisa and I both thought that was kind of bullshit, right? It's like, we're telling stories on behalf of brands, we're creating platforms, we're creating big brand ideas. How they get executed should just be wherever the idea takes place more, where it should be taking place. However, the audience will best receive that idea. However, the idea wants to come to life. And so we thought, what if we created an agency that was not traditional and not digital, but was just truly an idea company that could reach people in every different way. And so that's why JOAN started. And you just asked about the name. The name was something that sort of came to me in a lightning bolt thing. Have been talking about the people that were really interesting to us. And I sort of realized one night that so many of them were called JOAN, like they were like women that had gone into male dominated fields and just made change for everybody in like such a completely, I don't know, we call it joyful rebellion, that kind of way. And, you had like Joan Jett, and she was like, they were like, yeah, they told her, when you're little, they said, you got to play a violin because you're a girl. And she's like, I want to pick up guitar. And her parents believed in her, and they said, okay, we'll get you a guitar. And Joan Jett ended up making this amazing music that everybody could fall in love with. And Joan Didion was incredible. I'd love just how in an essay, a 3-page essay, Joan Didion gets you right here in the gut. And then Joan Rivers, of course, the foul mouth, funny as hell, kind of first woman that actually told what it was like to be a woman and made jokes about it. And it was really awesome. And then Joan arbitrating, one of her things is so cool is that her music is so uncategorizable. She does all these different genres, and she refuses to be put in a box. And I freaking love that about Joan arbitrating. And then of course, Joan of Arc. So there's all of these people that, were these amazing women who captured the spirit. And we were like, okay, we just want everybody who comes to JOAN to feel that they can make change, and they can do it through creativity. and they can do it, on behalf of themselves and of, their gender or their ethnicity or their background, or they can do it for everybody and move the world forward that way. And so that's where JOAN came from.
Were there certain things that you were taking from all of your experiences having worked with various founders that you brought to JOAN, or were you like, I'm filling a gap that's like complete? Yeah.
Oh, no, I steal from them completely, and probably poorly. But look, I fell in love with entertainment by working with PJ Pereira, who is still my mentor. Love him to death. I think he's fantastic. I've learned how to, I will use his words, fuck with people, from Nick Cohen and Michael Reich and Dave Cook from Mad Dogs. And they were like, they always said to me, they said, Jamie, Nick said to me, it's much more interesting to be sweet and fucked up in your work than to just be sweet. And I said, okay, I'll try to be sweet and fucked up. So we try to be a little bit fucked up. And then, from Chuck McBride, I really learned craft. He is one of the best masters in filmmaking. And so really love craft. And then from EVB, working with Jason and Daniel, it was great because it was the first time I had ever done interactive. And I'd gone there to learn digital. And my God, I just fell in love with digital because it was like you could create something and then you could throw it out into the world, and then the world could pick it up, and they could throw it back to you. So it was the first time it was like, wow, this is two-way creativity. And like two-way creativity is something I'm radically obsessed with.
I love it. So like, speaking to the intersection of like entertainment and brand, a lot of what your work is centered around, can you like share an example of that blend that led to a particularly memorable campaign that you're proud of?
And if one that is like more fucked up than others, if that's the side that you balanced a little bit more on, that would be cool too. Either way.
I'll tell you one that is kind of funny from JOAN that is, I don't even think it's on our website anymore, but I really loved it. And I think it's incredibly fucked up. We were talking about climate change a couple of years ago. And we were like, how are we going to get people to care about climate change? We're working with a really wonderful organization called Potential Energy. And we really wanted to get particularly millennial men at the time who were kind of on the fence about it, but maybe leaning even a little bit Republican. So we're like, how do we get those guys to really, worry about climate change and care and vote accordingly? And we started thinking about, looking into this, and we started thinking about how most climate change adverts at the time, boy, that was very British of me. Most climate change commercials and initiatives at the time.
Called a spot, like everyone thinks they're so cool when they call a spot.
Spot, exactly. Most of the work that was on climate change, they really leaned heavily on the destruction of the environment, obviously, and there was a recurring image of a polar bear on ice, like starving to death. Very sad, very sad. But it was not resonating with these guys. And we started to think about like what really would resonate with them. And the strategist at the time was like looking at them like, look, this much of Florida is going to be underwater if we don't fix this, right? So it's our homes. It's like literally our homes. It's not polar bears. It's not far away. It's here. And we thought, oh my God, young millennial men, kind of like a little bit of yahoos, right? Who do they love? Florida man. And we thought, okay, if there was a creature a species that you would care to save, if you are these guys, it may not be polar bears. There's actually a line in the it's like a short form film, like a little film, an initiative where the guy says, we actually got a real Florida man, a real guy that was in a headline. He said, screw the polar bears, save me. And we said, let's do a whole campaign that says, let's save the Florida man because he's in danger. And we brought big Save Florida Man signs to the climate marches, and we had people out there, and we made this, we got a real Florida man to be our spokesperson, and he made this kind of short form film, but long form for a commercial, a couple minutes long thing where he was looking for your help. And I loved it because it's like, it did intersect culture and entertainment, but also public policy and messaging. And that to me was great. It was more something that was more fun. And then what we also did, which I thought was super fun, is whenever we bought, so we did some search engine marketing where we bought the term Florida man. So when you looked up Florida man, anybody that was a Florida man for this period of time, about a month, you would get served things about, save a Florida man. He's an endangered species. That kind of thing.
I love it.
Well, you delivered. So I asked for about fucked up, and Florida man is about as fucked up as it gets. So there you go. That delivers. Thank you. It's really interesting, the whole NIMBY idea and turning it around into like, the jujitsu of taking your enemy's strength and making it their weakness, like selfishness. Boom. You don't need all the data and insights to tap into that one. That is human nature.
It's like, you want to know, like the funny shit that you make fun of and laugh at and like look up, obsessively search on the internet. That is going to go away unless you stop climate change.
Okay. So these ideas that I think we all can acknowledge are brilliant. Sometimes they're effective. Sometimes you're just like, we did something cool. Great. The impact versus actual, just rewarding nature of something is always an interesting creative dichotomy. Ideally, if they can overlap, great. Then there's like peer recognition awards, which are not only important for, having something behind you on your shelf, but also like they help grow business, right?
They do.
So we were talking about like all of us have now won our Cannes Lions, but are there awards that matter more than others that you care about? Or is it really the campaign that drives the award that you're like, let's celebrate that?
It's a good question. And it's, I think, an eternal thing that people wring their hands about. I think the thing to think about is, what's the motivation to win awards? I feel like it does really boost people's careers and their confidence, and it inspires them to create more audacious work. Do you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that to me, first of all, for our people, is invaluable. I look at it and I say, I know that when I started winning like a lot of Lions, I started being like, well, I can walk into a room and I can feel really confident that I actually create work that is meaningful and our industry thinks is the best. And that to me really boosted both my career, but also my ability to feel good and make more work of that level. I think the Effies, that's for Lions and the One Show pencils and D&AD pencils. Those are like and Andes, like those are our industry. I love those guys to bits. All of those guys. Also, many of the organizations, the One Club, for example, does incredible work. I'm on the board, full disclosure, but does incredible work to boost people's careers and to actually help growth and creative and protect creatives, which is amazing. I'll also say that even before you win awards, learning what is the bar, learning what does the industry, learning how to make an idea. I grew up obsessively studying on club annuals, obsessively. When I would get stuck, I would look at them and I would say, what makes an idea? Like, what makes brilliant out of home? What makes, we didn't have interactive back then, but what makes a brilliant TV spot? Like, what makes a brilliant print ad? And I would just obsessively do this and try to crack the code of what makes that good? What is that? And how far do I have to push myself past good, right? Because good is easy to get to, and go to great. And so you would just sit there and you obsessively say, so that would be great. And then I think the effectiveness awards, like the Effies, are incredible. Although I will tell you that the creativity awards right now will require effectiveness in order to get through. There's plenty of things that in a jury room we've killed because we're like, that didn't do anything. That didn't do anything for the business, or that was just a fluffy thing. And then I honestly think for me, winning culture-based awards, like I won an Emmy in entertainment categories, outstanding approach to entertainment, and we were nominated in that category for a different project the following year. And I thought, this is cool because actually this is something that transcends just the advertising world and is something that regular people say is entertainment. And I think that that's interesting. I feel like every I'm sure there have been plenty of a completely bloated ego, add people that are like, we could be the first one to get an EGOT, but fuck it, man, we could be the first one to get an EGOT. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that would be pretty cool.
Well, if we can help from an audio perspective for you personally to win an award for a podcast episode, I will gladly submit this on your behalf. But only if it's the fourth. You need the other three.
Yeah, you got to get the other. And I'll tell you what, I've done. The Tony is the hardest one. The Tony is the hardest one because you got to put on a Broadway show, and that is not easy. I'm sorry.
You need like Lin-Manuel Miranda style. Like,
yeah,
that may have been his first, but yeah, like you can then record an album of your songs from him. Like the Grammy is the easy one if you've already got a brilliant musical.
That is so true. The Grammy is, I mean, and by the way, I'm not saying it's even a Grammy. Beyonce, I'm not saying that, but
sure.
Like my lips to Beyonce's ears, not easy. However, I will say that is of all four, that's the one.
I mean, when Barack Obama won his Grammy, I remember for like his audiobook.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember him like giving the kind of weird side eye, being like, this is not what I had in mind when I was telling the stories of my father, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So congrats on the expansion of your offices now, New York and London, and you even launched studios, so that's awesome.
Which, by the way, is the real bi-coastal, let's be honest, right? That's the two, those are the two important coasts. We can say that as New Yorkers, right?
I agree.
London and New York is bi-coastal. Yeah. I love it.
That is very funny, Matt. So what is the next big thing for your agency? What are you thinking about? Can you give us like a little sneak peek on some projects or campaigns you're particularly excited about?
We may be opening another office at some point.
Tri-coastal, let's do it.
Tri-coastal, and I'm saying that because Matt had 3 fingers. You guys can't see at home, but Matt was holding it up. He was going tri-coastal. Yeah, that is there. I think right now we are. We have just hired a ton of people, so it's really about making sure those people get onboarded really well and that we're growing, which is exciting. Adding some new capabilities. I'm like totally speaking very cryptically here, but I think there'll be exciting things coming out this year that are new for JOAN. One thing that we did last year that I'm really proud of and I'm excited to explore even more is developed a joint venture with Cross Media, which is JOAN Media, and it's Cross Media is an incredibly exciting and capable and awarded independent media agency, and we created our way for our clients and their clients to have one door to go through, and it's been a really, really fun to see. I'm a big believer that media and creative needs to work hand in hand, and that the best creative the only way to make audacious and interesting and truly groundbreaking creative ideas is by having a really tight-knit partnership with a media company. Certainly my best work that I've ever done in my career at JOAN and beyond has been because I've worked literally closely enough with the media people to say, hey, is this a good idea? Where else should we be? What other assets do I need to make? Hook me up like on a day-to-day basis with them. So being able to work so closely with Cross Media, we have the people from Cross Media in the JOAN offices. We are working with them on several clients and pitching even more. And I think it's something that I'm super excited about to really bring even to life even more. So I'm sneaky.
Well, I'm what I find sometimes sneaky and sometimes not sneaky with brilliant creatives is for the outside inspiration that you draw on and draw from, whether it's personal lives, hobbies, etc. This may be a 2-part question as I'm thinking of it, but how do you maintain this balance between being a creative powerhouse and finding time for yourself and drawing that inspiration? And then are there hobbies or passions that fuel and influence your professional work?
The balance is very, very challenging. And if I can find somebody that is as obsessive, I think that I have okay, let me put this a different way.
Do you have a pet? I mean, there's got to be something, right?
Oh, no. I have, listen, I have a robust, beautiful life that I'm very proud of. I've got 2 daughters and a husband who I love. I've got 2 dogs, one of which who is very good and one of which is very
Sounds
naughty.
Like 5 children. Okay. Yeah.
I love them. Exactly. I love them both. I love it. I will say, I think for me, the difference is I don't really have an end to where my creativity or my job as a creative, I don't think I have an end to where my life starts and my job starts. And maybe that some might see that as unhealthy, that there's not a real division. I certainly take time where I go snowboarding with my family and I'm like cuddling with my kids. I will say I love nothing more than to chat with my kids about creative problems that they're having or problems that I'm having. And we work through it. I mean, they're 13 and 15. They're awesome. They're brilliant. They're both creative as hell. And we've decided actually this year, we decided about a month ago that we are going to do something significantly together that is a creative project. I started thinking, my God, I spend all my time and my energy and creative energy going to work, and they do their creative projects, and we help each other, but we don't do anything together. So we've just started last Sunday, started to brainstorm on some things that we could do. And by the end of this year, we'll have something out that I think will hopefully be a significant creative project.
As long as it's not like a Roblox game, I'll be fine.
It won't be a Roblox game. Although, I mean, 2 years ago, that's all they would have wanted me to do is this Roblox game or Minecraft. They'd be like, I don't want to do that. But I think, I think that life is, if you love what you do, there you can bring it into everything, and everything can be a part of it, and there is no start and stop. And I know that's probably sounds, I know the Gen Z out there are probably out there like shrieking and we're shriveling up hearing me say that. But like okay, here's one thing. I love to travel. And I'm not like a person that travels all the time, but I travel a couple times a year. And every time I travel, one of the things I try to do is to keep my eyes open for something that somebody has made in the world that is there just to delight and enchant other people. And I find it incredibly moving. Once I find that thing, I end up starting to cry usually. But like we went to Joshua Tree, for example, when was it last year, 2 years ago? And I thought, oh, this is beautiful. And it was really amazing and magical. But outside of Joshua Tree, there are these little weird pop-ups that artists have just made, little crochet museum and a Noah Purifoy exhibit. And you thought, God, my God, people are so incredible that they put these things for each other. And then last year, we went, I swear to God, I kicked and screamed. I do not want to go to Disney. I do not want to go to Disney. My 13-year-old, then it was 12, and she said to me, Mom, this may be the last, I'm not going to be a kid for much longer. Let's go to Disney World. I'm like, oh God.
Guilt. Wow, good. Maybe she should be an account director.
Seriously, we go there and I'm finding myself on these rides just with tears coming down my face, and my family's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, no, look what people will do for each other. Like, I'm getting choked up thinking about this. Like, look at the care and the storytelling that people will make from one another. And I just think that is so amazing. So I always go in those trips and I find so much inspiration to see that like humans are just so cool and they care to like connect with other people through creative things. And every time I do that and I have one of those moments, I come back and I'm better at what I do. I'm more inspired. I'm more engaged. And yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's so, I love the combination of like that, the work-life balance being just sort of like all one thing. I agree. I mean, I think, having two daughters, I have a son, like him seeing me work, but also be able to be a normal human throughout those moments and in our experiences together, like it's like seamless. It's a positive for him to see that like it's not one or the other or trying to define these parameters with that. So I love that.
That's
and
a
I
great
agree.
takeaway. By the way, my takeaway was you're a sucker for the magic of Disney marketing. That's it. That's what I took away. So there you go.
I am a sucker for the magic. And I got to say, like, I don't know if I will go back again. Maybe I will at some point, but I just thought it was really just being on the rides and just being like, wow, think about the care, the meticulous care and craft that they put to every inch of this moment, and making sure that you felt in a certain way. And I just think that because, to be honest, this is something that I say quite often, but I do believe that being able to connect with people through storytelling and through creativity is the gift and the reason why I'll tell you, at least it's one of the reasons why I'm on this planet. And it, to me, is one of the most affirming things that we have. I don't know. It's like, cause it's weird. Like, why are we all here? Like, why are we all here? Like, why are we, I don't know. Like, why are we here? Like, why do we talk? Why do we get energy from one another when we speak to each other? Why do we go to movies and like put ourselves in through like sadness
Yeah.
and like unhappiness. And then why do we, I don't know. It's fascinating.
I know. It's all those experiences. It's wonderful. Before we get to the lightning round, I figure for those aspiring creatives who saw your name and wanted to listen to this podcast and are looking to make their mark on the industry, what advice would you give to them to stand out and stay true to their vision?
Oof. Okay. I think the first one is find like-minded criminals, so like-minded people who you can kind of go hang with. Find your gang and go and be there with them. Don't sell yourself short, right? Because life is short, and with enough gumption and you keep trying, you'll get there. And maybe it's not the first one you go to, but it'll be the right one you end up with. So just stay true to that. And then the second thing I would just say is, like, when you're young, I have this thing called the bell curve of responsibility that I kind of think about, is that, and the further you go up in your career, the more responsible you can be until you're very at the end of your career or very senior, and then you can be very irresponsible. But in the bell curve of responsibility, juniors are and people that are entering are right here. I want you to be as daring and as bombastic and as fucked up and as interesting and as different and radical as you can be when you're coming in, because there's going to be so much of your life that you're going to have to be responsible. What we need as oldies in this industry is to be able to look and see that spark of weirdness coming in. Like, I need to be fed weirdness all the time. And if I'm not being fed weirdness, then me, and when I say I mean me and the rest of, us people that are further along in our career, we will end up doing the same shit over and over again. So just bring us your weirdness. Bring us yourself.
Well, you've brought the weird, but you've also brought every other emotion and attribute to this conversation in ways that I can't wait to actually just go back and listen to it. I almost cried at one point, but I won't tell you when. That we'll have to talk about over another conversation in person. But let's move to the lightning round, where we will get as many of the remaining emotions that we haven't covered as possible into this next 1 to 2 minutes. Okay? All right. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we haven't gotten flatulent yet. Let's get flatulent.
Is that an emotion? That's an output, not an outcome. I don't know that that's really... Fair enough. But I'm going to have to think about the emotions that come with what prompted you to think that was an emotion. So we'll get there. Okay, so first question. We've talked a lot, and we've really traveled all over the world in these last 35, 40 minutes. What do you think is the most creative place either in the world or where you visited?
Ooh. Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay. So, New York City, right, is pretty good. New York City is pretty good. Tokyo. New York City and Tokyo. Tokyo is so earnest and adventurous, and the people there just commit to the thing they love. Like, nobody just sort of likes anything in Tokyo. People fucking love owls. People fucking love the Grateful Dead. People fucking love robots. Like, they don't just like it. They fucking love it. And they just go. And they make. And it's like such an inspiration to see, man. They just love it. And I think it is a place where I would love to spend more time.
Current marketing trends you'd love to get rid of.
Ooh.
Marketing or advertising. Just wish to go away.
Marketing trends. I'd like to get rid of marketing trends in general.
Okay.
Maybe that's a bit of a cheat, but it's just like, we as an industry, we see things and we're like, oh, that works. So then everybody goes and does it. And then it gets less and less working because everybody's doing the same thing. So it doesn't stand out. So then we got to go do another one. And I think it causes an enormous amount of investment from major companies to just start jerking around trying to follow the leader.
Ugh.
I just think don't do it. Don't fall into it. Just do your own
I
thing.
love that answer.
Well, we'll have the AI bots talk about that in the metaverse. Okay? How about that? Perfect. Okay. What is your all-time favorite advertising or marketing campaign? Number one.
Oh my God.
It's like choosing a child, I know, but maybe not your child. It's like who else's children do you actually like?
Well, I'm going to choose two and they're not from they're non-traditional. The first is is the Kiss makeup. The band Kiss were an okay band. They were just okay. Let's be honest. They got that makeup on. Now they are a brand. And I think that the makeup, all the Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss, like all of that makeup, the cat, the Starman, whatever, all of that was branding in its finest. And I just think that took the band from just okay to freaking excellent. That's one. On the other side, more recently, I really think the Barbie movie, this is a cheat, but again, I'll say like the Barbie movie was incredible marketing for so many things. It was marketing for Barbie, of course, right? So it's wonderful. Think about this. We left Barbie. We left the movie. My children are now at this point 14 and 12 when we went to go see Barbie movie. And they had not played with Barbie dolls in a million years. We left Barbie and they spent the whole car ride back arguing about which Barbie they were going to get first. They're way too old for Barbie, but that movie stoked a new love for it, right? But then I also think it was marketing for Stone Cold Creamery, who had the had the ice cream and the weight luggage
partnership and possible, yeah.
And it was marketing for female filmmaking, and I just think thinking about the the Margot Robbie, Greta Gerwig, like holy cow, like it just gives me chills to think about how powerful that piece was. And I'm envious. Unbelievable.
One word to describe Joan.
Ooh, fearless, I'd like to say. Is that common to say that? Maybe, but I think fearless.
I love it.
It's what you want it to be. It's your company, you get to name it. Or you get to define it.
I'll say fearless.
Besides the 3 beverages in front of you right now, what is one thing you can't live without?
My family. Again, another common answer, but I can't help it. I love them. My family is just everything, and it's a touchstone. And when you get swirly, or things get hard, or you start to have what does it all mean? Or, imposter syndrome and all of these things that invade our little weird heads. You go back to your family and you're like, oh, actually, this is okay. This is pretty good. I'm here.
It is. Can we get sweet and fucked up tattoos in Cannes or sometime in New York?
Actually, you know what? So we just had an event in early January, and we had one of our designers is a tattoo artist. We had a party, and one of our designers is a tattoo artist, and they're tattooing, and we have a new logo, and we put on the flash sheet just because it seemed like kind of fun, the ability to get tattooed with a new logo. And one of our people got tattooed with the new JOAN logo, which was so exciting and terrifying to watch, because I was like, oh, please let this come out okay, like let it be good. And our head of talent and operations, she got a tattoo of the JOAN logo, which is really exciting, and I don't know, it was funny.
I will just say, I hope you cleared all of your trademark and copyright and other service mark related legal challenges before she did that, just in case. I hope it was all approved.
I mean, yes, I think we did. And she is a force of nature. She is, Becca, if you're listening to this, I love you. And she's one of the most important people to me personally, and also to the company. But I'll tell you, I was flatulent because I was worried, to use that word again, and we knew we'd get there. I was flatulent because I would worry that the tattoo would someone would shake the table or whatever. And I was like, what if this doesn't come out good? But it looks awesome. It looks sick on it.
I love it. Love it.
I will tell you that for certainly the last hour and maybe the rest of our lives, you are someone that will be important to us and someone that we value and cherish, because you've been so great and kind and a lot more snarky than I was even expecting. So thanks for bringing it, Jaime. This was fierce. It was fearless, and it was slightly flatulent, I think. Certainly at the end. I think we squeezed in and out as much as possible.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Fierce, fearless, and flatulent. Maybe that's my new tagline, Jaime Robinson. Here you go.
I will give that to you gladly and freely.
Well, I said she was fun, fierce, and fantastic, but let's just say I was not expecting this to become an episode that mentioned flatulation. But our adulation for this master of creation is no exaggeration. Thank you, Jaime, Val, and Matt. And thank you to our listeners. See you next time on the Snarketing Podcast, presented by Point Symmetry.